Hello everyone. In this video I'll be talking about some interesting news that came out regarding the situation that's been going on. So recently we've been covering the Epstein situation on the channel and there's been quite a diverse opinions about it. Now, just last night, Trump orders Bondi to release the Jeffrey Epstein related grand jury testimony. So President Trump late Thursday ordered Attorney General Pam Bondi to seek the release of the grand jury testimony related to Jeffrey Epstein, as his administration faces pressure to disclose more details on the late six offender. All over social media, I have seen, and in the comment sections, and different commentators on right and left have expressed extreme distrust in the way this was handled. So it is interesting to see this being released. Quote from Trump. Based on ridiculous amounts of public given to Jeffrey Epstein, I have asked Attorney General Pam Bondi to produce any and all pertinent grand jury testimony subject to court approval, Mr. Trump wrote in a post on True Social. Quote, this scam perpetuated by the Democrats should end right now, he says. Many disagree with him. Many think that his administration has used it before as propaganda for their own benefit. Some claim with some videos that have been taken from their interviews that some of the administration has done over time. But he's basically trying to say that the origins of it came from them, he is claiming. Bondi wrote in a post on X. Minutes later, we are ready to move to the court tomorrow to unseal the grand jury transcripts, which I will be quite interested to see what is in those. A jury will need to make the final decision on whether the material can be released, which could take some time and is unlikely to be immediate. And we know about the trial coverage I do on the channel. This has to be approved by a judge and a jury. It's just not like with say, a dictatorship where somebody could just say, release it or not release it. It has to go through a, a process of checks and balances. It's unclear what the material the Trump administration will ask to be released. It's not clear how much of the Epstein-related material in the government's possession is a grand jury testimony. Epstein was investigated by federal authorities in Florida in the 2000s, as many of you already know. Just giving some backstory about it, which ended in a non-prosecution agreement and a guilty plea on the state prosecution charges, and he was later charged with child sex trafficking in Manhattan in 2019. The government also secured a conviction against Epstein's co-conspirator, Maxwell. It investigated the circumstances of Epstein's deletion in federal custody, which was deemed a suicide. Now, many people, including myself, are not convinced it was a self-deletion, that maybe he had some assistance, in our opinion, but some people may think otherwise. The order from Trump comes from the Justice Department and FBI released memo stating that Epstein did not have an incriminating client list, did not try to blackmail any prominent figures, and was deleted by suicide. The memo drew backlash from across political spectrum, including some fervent Trump backers, in part because Bondi and other administration figures had promised to release the information on Epstein, which was seen and played throughout social media. Many what's called podcast bros, which I guess I'm one of them, because I do podcasting. That is actually a new word that I learned. Many of these podcast bros have been, as I have done streams about this, are not happy about how this was handled. Just put it in layman's terms. And people can disagree on what somebody does and support them in other ways or not at all, or some people are feel that they've been insulted. There's been a lot of chaos back and forth, apparently, over this situation. The government, I also like to say government instead of government, is generally required to keep grand jury materials secret, and it's common for not all material that is shown to the grand jury, which meets before a person is criminally indicted, to emerge during a criminal case. There's possibly investigations going on. There could be other people involved that they want to, victims and stuff like that. But I do think if there's anything the public can see, I think it's important to show because it's a bad look the way the picture has been painted in this situation, in my opinion. A request of this kind by the government is unusual, says Michael Epner, a partner of the New York law firm in Cudman, Tracton, and former federal prosecutor. Quote, I've been and around federal criminal cases for over 30 years. I've never heard of this before, he told CBS News. While the scope of this government request is unknown, Epner says it could encompass an enormously quantity of data. Quote, Mr. Trump said that the government would seek the release of the grand jury testimony, which Epner noted may include the exhibits that the witnesses testified about before the grand jury. Quote, I would not be against there being anything from the most interesting thing in the world and least interesting thing in the world in the material, said Epner, who told CBS News he believes calls for more information to be disclosed in the Epstein cases are warranted. Epner joked, quote, if we were to find out the location of the corpse of Jimmy Hoffa, I would not be surprised. Material likely will not be released immediately, according to Epner, who says weeks would be moving very quickly. Months is likely. Under court rules, grand jury materials is typically only released under certain circumstances, often when it's needed for some other investigation. The government's grounds for release this case aren't clear. And as like to say in my streams, scared. I say that when something is, you know, a little bit edgy, something edgy is going on, like this. In the case, both associates and alleged victims of the Epsteins may oppose some disclosure. Quote, I would not be surprised if a number of people came forward under the pseudonyms to objects to release the grand jury material related to them, Epner said. I also would not be surprised if some of the victims came forward and said, yes, we do want things to be revealed. Trump administration faces Epstein fallout. Last week, the memo on Epstein reignited years of questions and conspiracy theories on the disgraced financier, including speculation about circumstances of the Epstein's deletion, which is the word in the article is death, and custody, and about whether the federal government was canceling the information to shield some of Epstein's famous friends. Now, on YouTube, in my opinion, you could say death. I got in a habit from other YouTubers I learned from to say deleted instead, though, so it became a habit. Bondi had pledged to release the files related to Epstein and suggested in a Fox News interview in February a client list was sitting on my desk right now to review, and she later said that she meant generally that the material on the Epstein was sitting on her desk, and she feels it was taken out of context. And as I said, I don't know all the technical situations about this, but many people are quite not happy how this was handled. In late February, the Justice Department distributed binders to over a dozen right-wing social media influencers labeled the Epstein Files Phase 1 through the influencers later said many of the materials were already in the public domain. Some Republicans and vocal Democrat supporters were dissatisfied with the last week's memo, in some cases calling for more disclosures in the appointment of a special prosecutor to look into the Epstein case, which a White House press secretary, Leavitt, said. President does not support that. Mr. Trump, for his part, has scolded some Republicans for buying into what he called the Jeffrey Epstein hoax, calling them stupid people and weaklings who are doing the Democrats' work. Shortly before publishing the release of the grand jury testimony, the president on Thursday denied Wall Street Journal's report on what the newspaper described as a baldy birthday letter to Epstein, featuring a drawing of a nude woman. The paper claimed it was signed by Mr. Trump early in the 2000s. Mr. Trump and Epstein had close paths for years, though Mr. Trump says he had a falling out. And there is speculation. This is something that came out the other day. I don't know anything about it. I don't know if it's really real or not. And Mr. Trump called the letter fake and threatened to sue the journal as well as its parent company and leader Rupert Murdoch. Quote, these are not my words, not the way I talk, and I don't draw pictures. I personally don't think he draws pictures myself in this situation. There's a lot of rumors and hearsay and things going on, so always be aware about emotional manipulation that could possibly be occurring and to use logical reasoning for figuring out what's going on. And CBS News has not independently verified or seen the letter. Dow Jones and News Corp division that includes Journal declined to comment on Mr. Trump's threats. And I do believe there's a lot of fake news circling around and rumors and alleged things like people could Photoshop pictures or accuse people of this or that. And there's a lot of hype. In my opinion, although I'm not there, I don't know the technical details, which we talked in the streams about. Maybe the FBI has hypothetically, allegedly in New York, may have withheld information, or the past administration could have caused a confusion with this allegedly. Many other people believe that, of course, that these files are there, clear as day, and for whatever reason they weren't being released for nefarious reasons, or people have a skepticism of mistrust. So these are two different sides that are happening. Emotions are very high, and I think that this situation could have been handled differently, but we all make mistakes and do things that are wrong. And as the years go on, hopefully there is a resolution or an answer to all this because I think everybody would want a peaceful country where information is released and transparent. So hopefully these documents, soon to be released, could shed some light on those things and we'll have to wait. No great thing was created suddenly. Now, and this was a report generally through a, in my opinion, unbiased perspective of what's going on here. And it's up to you, all the viewers, to on your own figure out what you think is true, what is not true. So I want to thank you all for watching this. Comment if you have any comments about this topic, and thank you for coming to the video. Peace.